Persian Gulf, January 12, 2016, local time 10:47. 2 U.S. Navy River Command boats, 10 American sailors, 50 nautical miles from their destination. When the first engine failed, nobody on these boats knew they would become pawns in a 24-hour hostage crisis that would expose the limits of American military power within a few hours. Nobody knew that within a few hours, they would be kneeling on Iranian concrete with hands behind their heads, broadcast live to the world. This is what happened when America's most powerful navy made a navigation error in Iran's backyard. 2 River Command boats departed Kuwait at 08. Destination Bahrain. Distance 250 nautical miles. Estimated transit time 8 hours. The boats were small, 49 feet long, 5-person crew on each. Designed for coastal patrol and special operations support. Fast, high maneuverability, armed with 50 caliber machine guns and automatic grenade launchers. Lieutenant David Nartker commanded the mission. 28 years old, Naval Academy graduate. This was supposed to be a routine transit. Follow the designated route. Stay in international waters. Arrive in Bahrain late afternoon. But at 09:12, the lead boat's starboard engine failed. Oil pressure dropped to 0. Temperature spiked. The engine seized. Nartker ordered the boat to continue on one engine while the crew diagnosed the problem. But single-engine operation was slow, 15 knots instead of 40 knots. The second boat stayed with them. Standard procedure: never leave a disabled vessel. At 09:43, the navigation system failed. The GPS unit displayed error messages, then went dark. Nartker switched to backup navigation, chart plotter, compass, dead reckoning. But the Persian Gulf is complex. Shallow waters, countless islands, disputed maritime boundaries. Navigation requires precision. Without GPS, this precision had been compromised. At 10:30, Nartker believed they were in international waters, 15 nautical miles from the nearest Iranian territory, on course for Bahrain. He was wrong. The boats had drifted north, pushed by currents, pulled by tides. The navigation error had placed them on a course directly toward Farsi Island. Farsi Island, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Navy base, home to fast attack boats and coastal defense units, one of the most sensitive military installations in the Persian Gulf. At 10:47, Iranian radar detected the American boats, 2 targets, 8 nautical miles from Farsi Island, heading directly toward the base. Iranian command made the assessment immediately. This was either an intelligence-gathering operation or a provocation. Either way, it required intervention. 4 Iranian patrol boats were launched from Farsi Island, Swedish-designed Bogomar fast attack boats, each armed with heavy machine guns and RPGs, each carrying 6 Revolutionary Guard personnel. Speed, 45 knots. Intercept time, 12 minutes. At 10:52, Nartker's crew detected the Iranian boats on radar. 4 targets, range 6 nautical miles, closing fast. Sir, we have multiple surface targets approaching from the north. Speed 40+ knots, heading directly toward us, he said. Nartker grabbed the radio, transmitted on international distress frequency. Iranian vessels, this is U.S. Navy vessel conducting routine transit in international waters. Request you maintain safe distance. There was no response. The Iranian boats continued closing. 5 nautical miles, 4 nautical miles, 3 nautical miles. Nartker faced a decision: run or fight. Running was impossible. His lead boat had 1 engine, maximum speed 15 knots. The Iranians were doing 45 knots. They would be caught within minutes. Fighting was literally suicide. 2 small American boats against 4 Iranian boats with crew-served weapons, in Iranian territorial waters, or very close to it. And Nartker had another problem. He was no longer entirely sure they were in international waters. The navigation system had crashed. The charts were unclear. The maritime boundary in this area was ambiguous. If they were in Iranian waters, and they fired on Iranian vessels, this was an act of war. At 10:58, the Iranian boats surrounded them, circling at high speed, creating waves that violently rocked the American boats. Then the Iranians slowed, formed a box formation around the Americans, weapons pointed inward. An Iranian officer stood on the bow of the lead boat, speaking through a megaphone in accented English. U.S. vessels, you are in Iranian territorial waters. You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Nartker transmitted again. This is U.S. Navy. We are in international waters. We are experiencing mechanical problems. We request permission to continue our transit. The Iranian response came immediately. You have violated Iranian territorial waters. You will stop your engines now, or we will open fire. Nartker looked at his crew. 9 sailors looking back at him, waiting for orders. He could fight, maybe neutralize one Iranian boat before being overwhelmed. Maybe. Or he could comply, stop the engines, accept boarding, try to resolve this diplomatically. The rules of engagement were clear. Use force only in self-defense. Avoid escalation. But the political situation was delicate. This was January 2016. The Iran nuclear deal had just been implemented. Relations between the US and Iran were at their most positive in decades. A firefight in the Persian Gulf could destroy all of this, could restart the march toward war. Nartker made the decision. All engines stop. Weapons safe. Stand by to be boarded. The Iranian patrol boats approached. Revolutionary Guard personnel boarded both American vessels, weapons drawn, shouting commands in Farsi and broken English. Hands up, kneel down, do not move. The American sailors complied, kneeling on the deck, hands behind their heads. The Iranians searched them, took the weapons, confiscated phones, seized cameras and navigation equipment. They were particularly interested in electronics, photographed everything, downloaded data from computers, removed hard drives. Then the Iranians did something unexpected. They started filming. Revolutionary Guard personnel with smartphones and cameras, recording the American sailors on their knees, zooming in on faces, capturing the scene from multiple angles. One Iranian walked up to Lieutenant Nartker, camera in his face. "You are in Iranian waters. Do you admit this?" Nartker knew he was being recorded, knew this would be broadcast, but he was trapped, in Iranian custody, surrounded by armed guards. "We experienced mechanical and navigation problems. We didn't intend to enter Iranian waters. We request permission to continue to Bahrain." The Iranian smiled. "You will come with us immediately." At 11:23, the Iranian boats towed the American vessels toward Farsi Island. The American sailors remained on their knees, under armed guard, being filmed continuously. In Washington, the crisis erupted immediately. The Pentagon received notification at 0430 EST, 2 U.S. Navy vessels detained by Iranian forces, 10 American sailors in Iranian custody. Defense Secretary Ash Carter was briefed within minutes. President Obama was woken and informed. The situation was unprecedented. American military personnel captured by Iran, not in combat, not in a war zone, during what was supposed to be a routine transit. The optics were catastrophic. American sailors on their knees, hands behind their heads, surrendered to Iran without firing a single shot. The timing was even worse. This was one day before President Obama's final State of the Union address, the day the Iran nuclear deal was being celebrated as a diplomatic triumph. Now American sailors were prisoners on Iranian territory. Secretary of State John Kerry immediately contacted Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif. They had developed a working relationship during the nuclear negotiations. "This needs to be resolved quickly," Kerry said. "The sailors made a navigation error. They didn't intend to violate your waters. Release them immediately." Zarif's response was careful. "I need to consult with the military. This is a Revolutionary Guard matter, not Foreign Ministry, but I will see what can be done." The distinction was important. The Iranian Foreign Ministry didn't control the Revolutionary Guards. They operated independently, sometimes in opposition to diplomatic efforts. The Revolutionary Guards saw the detained sailors as a propaganda opportunity, and they planned to exploit it fully. At Farsi Island, the American sailors were taken to a detention facility, a concrete building near the waterfront. They were separated, interrogated individually. The questions were pointed. Why were you in Iranian waters? What was your mission? Were you spying on our military facilities? Lieutenant Nartker stuck to the facts. Mechanical failure, navigation error, no hostile intent, but the Iranians kept pressing, kept filming, kept trying to extract statements that could be used for propaganda. Meanwhile, the Revolutionary Guards released the first videos, posted on Iranian state media, uploaded to social media. The images spread globally within minutes. American sailors kneeling, hands behind their heads, Iranian guards standing over them with weapons. One video showed the female sailor, Petty Officer Second Class, with her hair uncovered, forced to wear a headscarf, looking terrified. American media picked up the videos immediately. Cable news channels played them on loop. Political commentators exploded with outrage. "This is humiliation. American sailors forced to surrender without a fight. Obama's weakness on full display." The White House scrambled to control the narrative, issued statements. "The sailors are safe. Diplomatic channels are working to secure their release." This was a navigation error, not a military incident, but the damage had been done. The images were out. The humiliation had been broadcast worldwide. In Tehran, Revolutionary Guard leadership was euphoric. They had captured American military personnel, extracted propaganda value, demonstrated that American naval power had limits, and they had done it without firing a single shot, without risking escalation, just by enforcing their territorial waters. But there was also calculation. The sailors had value as bargaining chips. Holding them too long brought the risk of American military intervention. Releasing them quickly could be framed as Iranian magnanimity. After consultation with Supreme Leader Khomeini, the decision was made. Release the sailors after 15 hours, long enough to extract maximum propaganda, short enough to prevent American retaliation. Throughout the night, the sailors remained in detention, interrogated, filmed, given minimum food and water. They were forced to make statements on camera. "We apologize for entering Iranian waters. We thank the Iranian Revolutionary Guards for their hospitality." The word hospitality was Iranian. The scripts were Iranian, but the sailors read them under duress, under pressure, under implicit threat. The next morning at 08:43, on January 13th, the sailors were released, put back on their boats, given fuel and supplies, escorted to international waters by Iranian patrol boats. Total detention time, 15 hours, 22 minutes. The sailors were picked up by U.S. Navy vessels and transported to Bahrain, debriefed, given medical checks, told not to speak to media. President Obama mentioned the incident briefly in his State of the Union address that evening. "This incident was resolved quickly because we used diplomacy. This is what our engagement with Iran makes possible." But the political damage was severe. Republicans seized on the incident as proof of Obama's weakness. American sailors, forced to kneel before Iran. This is what Obama calls success. The videos were used in Iranian propaganda for months, broadcast domestically, shared regionally, presented as proof that America could be humiliated with impunity. The military analysis was more sobering. The sailors had made mistakes, navigation failure, poor situational awareness, inadequate backup planning. But the broader lesson was strategic. Small American units operating near Iran were vulnerable, could be captured, could be used for propaganda. The Revolutionary Guards learned they could detain American personnel without triggering military intervention, as long as they were released quickly, as long as they weren't harmed. This was asymmetric warfare at the tactical level. Use small provocations to create large political impacts. Challenge American prestige without risking American retaliation. The incident accelerated Iran's confidence in its ability to operate against U.S. forces. Within months, Iranian fast attack boats were conducting aggressive maneuvers near American warships. In one incident, Iranian boats approached a U.S. destroyer at high speed, forced the destroyer to take evasive maneuvers. The Iranians filmed the encounter, broadcast it as proof they could intimidate American vessels. The pattern had been established. Iran would push boundaries, test responses, exploit any hesitation, and the U.S. would respond with restraint to avoid escalation, to protect the nuclear deal, to maintain regional stability. But this restraint had costs: perceived weakness, emboldened adversaries, damaged credibility with allies. The 10 sailors returned to the United States. Most wanted to leave the incident behind, never speak of it publicly, but Lieutenant Nartker faced a different future. He was questioned extensively, investigated for the navigation error, for the decision to surrender without resistance. The Navy concluded he had made the right decision. Avoiding a firefight had prevented casualties, had prevented escalation, but his career was effectively over. The stigma of surrender, of being captured, of being in those videos. He left the Navy within a year. The incident defined him in ways he could never escape. The geopolitical consequences lasted longer. The incident showed that American forces could be humiliated, that Iran could win propaganda victories, that the threshold for American military intervention was higher than adversaries feared. It was a lesson that Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea all absorbed. Test American resolve, push boundaries, calibrate aggression to stay below intervention thresholds. The January 2016 detention lasted 15 hours, but its strategic impact lasted for years. The question American commanders ask: when do we use force to prevent humiliation, despite the risk of escalation? The question Iran asks: if we can detain American sailors and release them 15 hours later, what else can we do?